Hey y'all, it's Terry. I decided to do another nail tutorial video because the first one seemed to get a lot of response and everybody said to keep coming with them. So today, with Halloween in a couple of weeks, I decided to share with you one of my most popular nail art designs that I did last year. I did Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas, and I did that right around Halloween, and I got so many compliments on it. And it actually was one of my more popular Instagram posts too. So I figured this is a good one. It's actually really simple. That's the great thing about it is it's simple, but it's unique to each person. And the techniques are very, very easy. As long as you've got the right tools, you can do this very easily. What the first thing I do if I'm coming up with something that's a recognizable character like this is I try to find a picture online, and you can do that easily by going and typing into Google what you want, and then just click on images. And so, like, I found this one today of Jack Skellington, and it's kind of hard to see his facial expressions in the video. But anyway, you can find one that you like, and then just have that ready when you're doing your nail art so that you can refer to it. What I did is I went ahead and I actually did this myself so that you can see the finished product, because there's no telling what this will work out like on video. But you can see I've got, when I usually do it, I'll do all of my nails black except for one or two white ones on each hand. And then the ones with the white, I do the face. And then the other ones, I do the pinstripe, which just turns out to be really sharp. It's very eye-catching. And so I went ahead and did this just so that we would have, you could see what the finished product looks like, just in case the end design isn't that great. And it's been a while since I've done it, so even I'm a little bit rusty. But I figure I'll go ahead and show you how to do this, and maybe you'll be able to have a little more confidence in trying it. Because I know people always say, "Oh, I can't do that, I can't do that." But I think sometimes when you see how it's done, you start to realize that it's actually not as hard as what you think it may be. Basically, what you're going to need, obviously, you'll need. I always recommend a base coat. Just gives you a more smooth foundation. Always recommend a good top coat, preferably a fast drying one. Seche Vite is my favorite. That's SECHEVITE. And you want to do base coat, 2 coats of color, and then a top coat, and then let it dry. It doesn't have to dry all the way through, but let it dry for at least probably like 5 or 10 minutes. When I'm doing nail art, I typically use acrylic paints. I get these at Michael's or Joann or any craft store, really, Hobby Lobby, and you can get them reasonably cheap. And obviously, I don't have a brand preference. It's whatever's on sale. And the reason I use acrylic paints is that when your nail polish has dried and you start working with nail art, it doesn't always go the way that you want it to the first time around. So when you use polish tends to have a different viscosity, and it dries a lot more quickly. And so what ends up happening is if you do something with your nail art and you don't like the way it looks, you have to start over. You have to take off the nail polish your nails again, let them dry, and start the nail art again. But when you use acrylics, the great thing about this is if you mess something up and you don't like the way it looks, all it takes is a little bit of water and either a cotton ball or a tissue, and you can actually just wipe it off, which is really nice. In fact, I can show you that real quick. Like in this case, let's do some black paint just because it's easier to see. So I usually just pour that onto I use a paper plate. I don't use a palette. I use a palette when I'm painting, but when I'm doing nail art, I just use a paper plate because it's cheaper, and I reuse it like a million times, as you can see. So let's say I'm doing my nail art and I want to do some dots, and I just start putting them on here like this, and oh no, I did that one, it's too close. So what I do from here is just take some water on my tissue and I just wipe it off. And see, if you had polish, you wouldn't be able to do that because it actually starts drying and it's a little stickier. So that is why I use acrylic paints, boys and girls. Probably mostly girls. But anyway. Okay, so to do Jack, the face for Jack, obviously your nail's going to be white. And from there, like I said, I pull up my picture of Jack that I pulled up off the internet. And for the eyes, because the eyes are very large, I'm going to go ahead and use my biggest dotting tool. And I'm just going to stick that in the paint. And looking at the picture of Jack that I've got, his right eye is actually wider than the left. And so I'm just going to kind of like do this, and I just kind of drag it around a little bit until it resembles the shape that's in the picture I have. Then it looks like there's actually kind of a wide space between the eyes. So I try not to do them too close together. So I come over here, and this one, it's almost kind of like a kidney bean shape. So that's what I've got so far. Then he's got two little nostril holes that are kind of just like slits. And so I take a really, really small dotting tool. In fact, I have a dotting tool that really doesn't even have a dot at the end. It's just like a point. But this one I think is going to give me a little more precise movement. And let's see if I can turn this way so y'all can see kind of what I'm doing here. So I'll take it and just do like, oh, I need more paint. Just do kind of like a slit and then another slit. And then for his smile, it's actually kind of a crooked line. And this is something that people look at and they think, well, this is weird, you know. This is actually called a striping brush. And there are like maybe like 5 hairs in this brush. And people think, oh, it's not going to do anything, but it really does. The other thing that's great about a striping brush is it's not short. The brush itself, the bristles are several inches long, and that actually allows you to have a really straight line. If you see a striping brush that's short, it's not going to give you the same effect. So you want to get a long one. These are available at Sally's Beauty Supply for, I think they're around $8, something like that. And I usually just get it a little bit wet. You don't want it drenched, but I kind of just make sure to smooth it out like that. And then you just lay it down in the paint and drag it through. Make sure it's well coated, and then I usually just kind of drag it along the side to get the excess paint off. And then from there, I usually just take it and kind of do like a half of a smile there, and then another half the other direction. So you can see it there. And then I always try to get the paint off my striper brush really quickly, just because it does only have a few bristles on it. That way I can keep it in good shape. And I always smooth it straight out when I'm done, let it dry that way. And then I'm going to go to make the little, the little stitches in his smile, if you will. Same thing, I'm going to use a small dotting tool for this. Put some paint on it. And then just kind of put them in there wherever I feel like putting them in there. And if you look at the picture, his stitches aren't perfect. His stitches are actually different directions. So I just kind of do them that way. They don't have to be spaced evenly or anything. Just put them however you like. And there you go. Now for the pinstripes that are on the black, I'm going to pick up my striping brush again, and I'm going to turn my plate a little bit to get away from the black that I poured out earlier, and I'm going to put some white down. And again, I like to get my brush just a little bit wet, just because I think it just, I don't know, I think it helps too to make the paint not quite as thick. And you can actually, if you prefer, depending on what technique you're using, you can actually thin your paint out a little bit if you like to, just by adding a little bit of water, just so the consistency isn't quite so thick. Now, hopefully this works. If not, we'll just wipe it off and try it again. But so from here, I'm doing this upside down, so it may not be completely straight. But basically, the way that the striping brush works is it works for you. You don't have to do a whole lot. Basically, you just want to lay the brush down, like so, and then just pull. I don't know if you can see that. And then, actually, I think I had a little too much water on the brush to begin with, but there you can see it a little bit better. Then I just set the brush down a little bit, maybe a couple millimeters away. The same thing again, set the brush down, pull. And I'm actually going to go over that again because my paint does seem just a little watery. And then you just do that with as many stripes as you want. Just lay it down, pull it down, like so. And actually, I'm going to get a little more paint on my brush just so that I can get some thicker, more consistent stripes. But just do like that. And I could probably do one more over here just because we're at the edge of the nail. So there you go. And that's how the striping works. So that's pretty much it for the pinstripes. That's actually the easiest part. And then you can always try to do, I mean, I prefer myself to have just one jack face like that on a nail. I think it looks cleaner and crisper, but you can do little small ones like that if you like, just to kind of, you know, pepper them around the nail. When you're done, make sure it's dry thoroughly, because if you try to put a top coat over this and it's not completely dry, what'll happen is it'll start to bleed and it will be pulled down. So just give it a few minutes, and you can usually tell by looking at it when it's dry. And then once it is, then you just throw your top coat on it and you should be good to go. If you have any questions, or if you want to learn more nail art techniques like this, you can always friend request me at www.facebook.com/terry.holvey, and I'm happy to answer your questions, or happy to just talk about what your favorite products are, or what products are my favorite, and we can definitely get you on the right track. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one, and happy Halloween.